is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio. PHLV Radio.
Are you ready to travel? We got all the travel buzz here on Smart People Travel Wise with Alvin Adriano on PHLV Radio.
Well, greetings, everyone. So glad to have you back on the show. We are excited to bring a new perspective for today's episode. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about something that we always need, but we often avoid: insurance. But if you're just tuning in for the first time, my name is Alvin Adriano, CEO of TravelWise International, and I'm your host today on Smart People Travel Wise. It's a show dedicated in bringing our viewers different perspectives in travel. But before we get started, if you are just tuning in, as a reminder, all of our viewers, we always ask them to watch. If you're watching this live, please hashtag live. And if you're watching on the replay, the hashtag replay. We also want to you to share where you're watching from so we can acknowledge all of our viewers. And don't forget to catch our show on Facebook and YouTube, or you can listen on the show on Amazon Fire, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, or even better, download the app PHLV Radio. It's available on all iOS and Android devices. So travel today has evolved in front of our very eyes. Within the weeks of international travel and tourism, the entire world basically stopped. It was absolutely the worst year for international arrivals, with an overall 85% loss of travel. Although most people talk about the cancellations, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper and get a one-on-one conversation with a person on the other side of the equation. When people were canceling, some people had travel insurance. Travel insurance was, after all, recommended and is a surefire to protect the traveler, right? Well, on today's show, we're going to dive in and uncover the truth about travel insurance and find out why it's so important to protect yourself in this uncertain times. So Pam Mclean joined Travel Insured in February 2015, bringing over 15 years of customer service. Pam spent 2 years working in the customer care department. And in the beginning of 2017, she shifted roles to assist with the group desk. Just 1 year later, Pam joined Travel Insured Sales Department. And now in her free time, she loves watching football, Patriots fan, and spending time with her husband, daughter Emma, and who's 5, and Tyler, who's 17, and 2 dogs, Lexi and Lacey. So please smash those heart buttons for Miss Pamela Mclean. Hi, Pam.
Hi, Alvin. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm good. You know, it's nice weather out. I love the fall. Can't complain.
Yeah. What do you think about that matchup? Brady versus Belichick.
That was intense. I'll tell you, I was expecting that game to go a lot more towards Brady. Like, I was really unfortunately expecting it to be a blowout, but they played well. They held their own. I mean, Mac Jones played better than Brady that night, you know, based off the stats. So I'm proud of my boys. You know, The records aren't that good this year, you know, but I'll be a Patriots fan till the end.
They didn't roll over. That's the point. They didn't roll over. They showed up. That's the best point. That's why you root for your teams.
Exactly.
I always ask Pats fans that's like, whoa, that's different. Brady on a different team looks so different.
Yeah, definitely weird, but you know, I'm liking our new QB, so I'm rooting for him.
Awesome. So for all of our viewers, I know I mentioned a little bit about your bio, but for all of our viewers, can you just tell a little bit more about your background, what you do, and how you got involved in travel?
Yeah. So, you know, prior to starting with Travel Insured, I worked in the retail industry, actually, mostly with, believe it or not, videos like movies. I worked for Blockbuster, Hollywood Video. That was kind of like where I was at. But of course, as we know, that industry kind of died and now everybody does on demand and Netflix. So I was talking with a friend who I went to high school with, who was working for Travel Insured at the time. Mm-hmm. And she would not stop raving about how much she loved her job. And I'm like, okay, I got to know, what do you do? And how can I get in? So she explained to me about travel insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And up until speaking with her, when I first started in 2015, I had never even heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
I'd never, really gone on an extravagant trip that, it was offered to me or required. Mm-hmm. So I knew nothing about it. So when she explained to me what it was and said, hey, we're looking for customer care reps, which kind of like talks about the coverage and offers policies to travelers, I was like, I'm in. So I started back in 2015, kind of wanted to move along to my roles and found different, departments to work with in the company. But I love everyone that I work with, our travel advisor partners, the customers, just the industry itself. I mean, it's travel, it's fun, it's a blast. So how can I not love it?
That's so crazy. I know a lot of people, when they first enter the industry, they don't know how how many components there really is in travel. And one of those one things is travel insurance. People really don't know anything about travel insurance. So I bet you your eyes were just like, whoa, there's a lot to this.
It really was. I'll tell you the training process, I had to become P&C licensed. So that is one of the big things now when you're talking about travel insurance, for the most part, we're just like, hey, call us and talk to the experts because we have to be licensed to be able to talk about the benefits in coverage. So it is definitely pretty technical.
So I mean, I guess 5 years ago, you didn't know anything about travel insurance. You're now in travel insurance. You know all about it. You went through the worst pandemic, the worst events ever in the travel history. As a convert, how would you tell people how important travel insurance is these days?
I mean, just based off of what happened last year, I don't think anybody traveled. Most of the phone calls, of course, that we were getting, that were coming in were because people were canceling their trip. They didn't want to travel or they couldn't travel. So, having that coverage, to protect them, if they needed to file a claim because they didn't want to, they were too scared to, and now with things kind of changing and people are starting to kind of get out there again, the importance of purchasing it, not only to protect them, prior to departure, but of course the big concern is what if I contract COVID while I'm traveling, so big things with, medical coverage, evacuation, quarantine, so that is probably the biggest thing that people are looking at right now. But yeah, like I said, last year, like I said, it definitely was hard. We were pretty lucky with inside, obviously, our company that, we all continued to work. We had individuals that were being moved around from different department to different department, helping in claims, linking claim documents, someone in claims going over to working in, in our customer care department. So we were all moving around, but we were really thankful that, we all were still working, even though we understand that some of our partners, that we had been working with, because of all of the cancellations and refunds, we lost some people, outside of that because of it. But it's just in general, we all stuck together, and I think that was the important thing too.
No, I think you brought up some great points. I think, travel insurance didn't really have a lot of marketing value at the beginning because people were just used to traveling. It was so easy to travel. And the pandemic really was like a punch in the gut because it opened the possibility of doubt. And people are just like, oh my gosh, what if something happened? Am I taken care of? And that's a lot of stress that people are bearing right now. And so,
absolutely.
We talk about, taking a vacation and making sure, like it's supposed to be stress-free. You don't want to worry about every little thing. So those are little tidbits of how you can, manage your stress levels during it by being protected. And I love how you said that.
Definitely.
And even in the travel and tourism, I think it's important to say, like, if you told us in 2020, when this first started, that we would stop travel for 2 years, everyone would be like, nah, I don't know. But it's amazing. It is literally amazing how this sector really stood together, really are holding on. And now we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, it's really, I just heard some of the travel restrictions in Asia are starting to relax, and they were the hardest hit area or region. And so it's great to see a lot of the people coming back, tourism starting to open back up. So in you talked about your sector, how you had people were just evolving and moving around and just making sure that operations stayed intact. what type of changes or what kind of evolutions happened in travel insurance where was there a lot more positives than negatives that happened during that time?
So in that time, yeah, definitely evolutions in travel protection. Just this past March, we launched a whole new line of products through Travel Insured that covers the things that people are concerned about, such as high threat levels, like high travel warnings at destinations. And of course, quarantine coverage, like what happens if I have to be quarantined on my trip? I could be stuck there for 2 weeks, and that's going to come out of pocket. So, we've added additional add-ons to cover for that under like the bed rest benefit to reimburse travelers, for those expenses for lodging and meals if they have to be quarantined. We've added new reasons for cancellation on top of that when it comes to like mental and nervous conditions, things that used to be excluded, but now have some, protection. So that is definitely one of the things, that we've really done to kind of push forward, going to the future, because even though, yes, we understand travel restrictions are loosening up, it still feel like, down the line, this could still be with us for quite a while. So we wanted to make sure that our travelers were protected and given those options that, that they were most concerned with, for when the time comes and they do travel again.
No, that's exactly. I mean, we still, I think minimizing future risk is important. I agree with you. I think it's gonna be a couple of years before we're all scot-free without the mask. I like wearing the mask. It's kind of like just feel safe. I didn't get sick all last year. It's just, I don't know. It's just something that I'm just gotten used to, and I kind of like it. And so I definitely think there's some positives that are going to come up from the pandemic. We were really accelerated with technology, and I'm really excited to see what is going to evolve from all of this. But when passengers are looking, you talked about the new benefits that were added on. Are there like features that travelers should look out for to protect themselves for specific plans?
So I do believe so. Not only are we talking about, most times when people purchase travel protection for, from what I can understand, the big chunk of it is because they want to protect their investment of their trip so that if they had to cancel their trip, they could be reimbursed. Of course, a lot of people now are purchasing cancel for any reason. This means that if they had to cancel their trip for even a reason that we don't specifically list on the plan documents, then they would still be able to, cancel and even get like just at least a partial reimbursement up to that 75%. So, that's a big feature that a lot of people are looking into because, they're scared, what if I don't want to travel again? And there's a spike, in cases when I'm set to travel, like in 6 months. So not only just the cancellation, but, also, like I said, mentioned, with that bed rest benefit, any benefit, even if, let's just say the bed rest benefit's not available, because of the specific state that the traveler lives in, but any benefit that can increase coverage for like a trip delay, that's something that we would look at for quarantine coverage, to provide some type of reimbursement if they had to pay extra out of pocket for, more meals, more lodging because they were stuck, and they had to stay on their trip. So cancel for any reason, a big one. And then, like I said, anything in relation to increasing their travel delay benefits, whether it be bed rest or, I know that there, like I said, we have some plans that, you can double benefits on for certain travel delays. So those would be the big coverages.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that people are consider or have to think about now in preparation for travel because travel became so complicated. So all these little benefits and tips are really great for us, especially for those who are planning because they're getting ready for 2022 and ready for traveling.
Yep.
When we look at like insurance plans and we get more comfortable, you mentioned before when you didn't know about insurance, you didn't think, like I didn't spend, I guess, enough. Now that people are doing more domestic, more closer to home, is there a reason they should? There's a lot of flexibility with cancellation policies. Is it still important to get insurance, even if it's a domestic flight or a domestic package?
So even if it's a domestic flight, again, one of the big things that we ask, when we have individuals call our customer care department, we ask the question, what are you concerned about? Because obviously if, they wouldn't be obviously looking into travel protection if there wasn't some kind of concern that the traveler had, in reaching out, because not only are we talking about, plans that are going to reimburse for cancellation expenses, but it does provide, post-departure benefits if they need assistance with emergency evacuation. Again, the delays, for quarantine coverage, their luggage gets lost. I mean, myself personally, I had a domestic flight. Actually, the very first time I flew, was just a few states away. I was going from Connecticut to South Carolina, and they lost my luggage. I never got it back. I didn't have insurance because I didn't know about it at the time. But yeah, I mean, even in domestic flights, you could have your baggage lost or delayed, so there are still other benefits on the policies that can protect a traveler while they're on their trip, even if it is just a few states away.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Again, just benefit of mind, peace of mind, being able to have someone to complain to, at least getting retro, like that's the biggest thing. Like, at least someone was willing to listen to figure out what went wrong and fix it. So I love all that. When we talk about travel, things are starting to release. Do you see any other changes that might occur or might happen in the travel insurance space?
So I know, like, one of the big concerns that other people have been, reaching out with is in regards to, requirements with vaccines.
Yeah.
So there are some places like, look, you can't travel or you can't get into this country unless you're vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, even though it's some type of a medical type coverage, it wouldn't fall under a covered reason for cancellation, so they'd want to look at cancel for any reason on that. I do know that, with the changes evolving just in general with how things are looking, companies and locations are saying, no, you have to be vaccinated, or, just certain things that, always changing requirements. So we do our best definitely to keep up with that. So that was one of the reasons why, when we kind of put out our new policies back in March, is there were certain locations that were requiring COVID coverage, even though, the way that we look at it is considered a sickness, but they wanted to make sure, like, their requirements to be able just to get into their country was like, you have to show proof of travel insurance. So that's another big thing that's changing, is that, not only is it that it's recommended, but in order to even travel, you have to have it. They're like demand, like you have to show proof of it. So definitely things, changing in regard to that. So
and do you know if there are like actual like limits or amounts that you have to hit as far as medical or anything like that?
I want to say that there are certain countries and destinations that require specific amounts. Unfortunately, I don't know what they are off the top of my head, because every country destination could be different. But, right? Yeah, but with our policies that Travel Insured offers, we're hoping that, our most popular plan covers up to $100,000 in medical expenses, $1 million in emergency evacuation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't say that I've seen any other plans out there, that covers anything more than that. It's pretty high. Most places, from what I can recall, they're requiring like 50,000 for medical. And then of course they want to be able to show proof that they have coverage for the expenses if they had to be quarantined. So that is where that bed rest benefit was coming into play previously. So I think it does depend on destination, but for the most part, that's about the basic run of the mill, I'd say, is about 50,000 for medical.
Oh, great. Awesome. So you mentioned you traveled already South Carolina.
Yep.
Are you planning to travel anywhere else internationally, or get out of Connecticut?
It's funny because South Carolina was the first place I traveled to, and that was probably over 20 years ago. I was, almost 25 years ago. I was fresh out of high school. So I've been, on a cruise. I went on a cruise back in 2015. I can't wait to go cruising again. But our next trip is actually Disney World. We're leaving next month. We're going right after Thanksgiving. So. And that was a rescheduled trip. We originally had that for Thanksgiving last year, but we ended up rescheduling. So we're definitely going this time around. After that, I said, love to take another cruise. Really want to go to Hawaii. That's another dream of mine. So yeah, that's fingers crossed. So
it's so exciting. I mean, yes, I'm excited too. I started traveling too. I leave for Mexico tomorrow. I'll be there for a couple of days and just, again, exploring and just seeing how the protocols are. But as you start looking at how travel is, I mean, it's really reduced capacity. I mean, everywhere on the ships now are 50% capacity. So it's kind of like, they're pretty empty. They're pretty empty.
Yeah.
And they're
From what I've
50%
seen.
max capacity. So they're not even hitting max capacity yet.
No, and it's funny because I have seen a lot of stuff that, I follow a lot of social media. So watching, the social medias and people showing like, hey, this is what the cruise ship looks like. And there's like nobody on here. My niece and my sister-in-law went on a Disney cruise not too long ago. And they said they had to get like COVID tested like 3 times beforehand, after. Yeah. So it was definitely a unique experience, but they enjoyed themselves. So that was important.
Well, you know what? That's one thing I do have to. I can't wait for that to be over. I take PCR tests
all the
2 or 3 times a week. Just to go to events. That's that's my least favorite part of this whole pandemic. It's
I'm sure.
jabbing my brain every week. So yeah, it's so great to talk to you again, to get your perspective. I love being able to talk to different professionals and just get their understanding and get their idea, their insight about certain topics. But with that said, Pam, is there any other final thoughts that you want to share with the viewers?
Just what I honestly think the best thing I could say is just get out there and travel. It doesn't. I understand people can be scared, but with all of the protections that are out there with insurance and everything, it's just you got to get out there. You can't be afraid forever, I guess you could say. So get out there and enjoy yourself. So.
Well, thank you so much, Pam. It was a pleasure to have you on the show, and I hope we can have you on again.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it, so I do appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So with so much uncertainty in the world today, it's no wonder that insurance is really on everyone's mind. Insurance offers you protection against the unexpected. And just like auto insurance that protects you in case you get to a car accident, or health insurance that covers you for medical bills, travel insurance, it really minimizes your risk when traveling. Travel insurance often gets overlooked and dismissed, but it's just as important as any other insurance. It offers you peace of mind so that you can enjoy your trip instead of having to worry about it and what might go wrong. It's more important than ever. And while you have no control over these circumstances, you can have some control over your own situation when you purchase travel insurance. Now, you can always reach out to our award-winning travel agency, TravelWise International, at 301-248-8898, or you can visit us on the web at itravelwise.com, where we can help you plan an amazing vacation while removing the stress and anxiety of planning it or even managing it. So thank you to all of our viewers and listeners who've been able to join us today. Your support is so humbling, and this is all would not be possible without your support. Thank you for sharing and spreading the love. Smart People Travel Wise airs every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time and 3 p.m. East Coast time. So until next time, smart people travel wise.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PA